having that outward accountability, even though it's not like a person, it's your phone reminding you, but it's past me wanted future me to do this. So it's been game changing, really.
Welcome to Scrapbook Your Way, the show that explores the breadth of ways to be a memory keeper today. I'm your host, Jennifer Wilson, owner of Simple Scrapper and author of The New Rules of Scrapbooking. This is episode 175. In this episode, I catch up with my friend Alissa Williams about our personal productivity and planner progress. We share insights on the accountability systems we use individually and together to stay forward moving in life and in scrapbooking. Hey, Alissa, welcome back to Scrapbook Your Way.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having me on again.
Can you let our listeners know who you are and where you live and all that fun stuff?
Sure. I am a director of a small public library in central Illinois where I live with my husband and my two tween daughters. We've officially entered tweendom. They're 10 and 12. And we are getting settled in a new home in the same community that we've been living in for the last 15 years.
This tween girl thing is just so interesting. Things are evolving so quickly.
Yes, and it is interesting, one day they want to snuggle with you and the next day they don't want to speak to you and then they want to snuggle again. It's I get whiplash some days from what's happening, but it does make scrapbooking a little more challenging because we're entering that phase where they don't really want pictures taken or they
Yes, they
put
have
their hand up.
opinions and stuff now.
Yes.
It is certainly an adventure. So, Alyssa, what's exciting you right now in memory keeping?
Well, I am all in on Chamel's Best of Both Worlds kit. So, each month she scrapbooks live on YouTube and she releases you can't see my air quotes in my hands, a kit available on scrapbook.com. So you can sub in stuff from your own stash, or you can buy what you want from scrapbook.com. And so I had bought stuff in the fall to do the November scrap along with her. But then we ended up buying a house and starting to pack and move. And so I didn't do it until I got a little more settled here. But when I made those November pages, I was just delighted at how fun it was and how out of my usual style it was. And so I went back and looked at some of the past kits and I actually had some papers that matched. And then I bought some stuff from scrapbook.com. And so I've set myself up with I think three of the past best of both worlds kits to go back and scrapbook with her. And I love the flexibility and I love her style. And it's teaching me a lot about layering just through watching her.
Yes, yes. So I've done one of those kind of right along with you, and it's been so fun. It got me out of my comfort zone, as you said. I was like journaling directly on the background of layouts. I used scissors to cut pattern paper for like the first time ever. It was just so fun and freeing, and I just love the process, and I got everything from my stash. I just kinda, took inspiration from her collection of products and said, "Okay, I wanna use my stash." And so I anticipate doing this throughout this year as a way to have some boundaries around picking products and getting some pages made.
Yeah, what I really love is I am a really good copier. Like
Mhm.
I scrap lift. That is my preferred style of scrapbooking. I have learned, in almost 20 years of doing this that I'm never going to come up with the latest and greatest design. I love sketches. I love following a plan. And so it really aligns with how I like to scrapbook. And I like that I can have the same stuff she has and use the same stuff and come up with, and tell my own stories. So that's what's been fun is I usually don't do it right when she's doing it live. I usually am going back so I can
Mhm.
kind of see because she posts on Instagram, like, okay, I need, three pictures and what story do I have? And so that's been really, I just like the challenge of kind of but it's like following a live sketch in a way because she does make a sketch at the beginning of her videos and then she puts stuff together. But like I said, I feel like I'm seeing some of her techniques creep into layouts that I make on my own or when I follow just a basic sketch. So I it's my kind of preferred way of scrapbooking, and I know recently in the member community, you had asked, like, if you could start from ground zero, what would you do? And I was like, I would just copy Chamel, like, the whole time, or maybe not her, but just this idea of, the exact supplies and just the follow along scrapbooking, I'll call it.
Yes, yes, and, that's one of the reasons why I've loved these crop and create events that Scrapbooking Cards Today has done, because for most of my scrapbooking journey, except in the very, very beginning, I felt like was needing to do more original things because it was all part of Simple Scrapper, and so I had very few times where I took an opportunity to have someone tell me what to do, and it's been so fun to receive this amazing box of product and then follow along and then make the thing together, and as you said, tell your own stories with the supplies you're given, and, just getting together with you to do it has made it even, more fun.
Well, and we always say that constraints breed creativity. And so
Mhm.
I find that true, having, a thematic set of supplies maybe, or, a kind of getting inspiration from what story she might have told with this. And so it helps narrow down, all the stories that I want to tell, or, even just page number of pictures, helps me kind of like, okay, this is a three photo layout. I've got three photos from this event. It'll go with these colors. It just helps makes those decisions easier.
Yes, yes, 100%. Like, so much we get bogged down in those decisions about every single step, and so if somebody else is making those decisions for you, I feel like it brings so much more fun to the process.
Absolutely. I really I have enjoyed both crop and create events and the following along, and then now this Chamel
Yeah,
best of both
yeah.
worlds.
So I'm, specifically excited about the Crop and Create Fall Paper Crafting event. So we both just signed up for that, and it's just nice to have something on the calendar that's, separate from, we do so many fun things inside of the Simple Scrapper community, but I love just being part of the broader memory keeping world and being able to participate in these other events.
Well, and you don't know what supplies you're gonna get, so it's really fun to get the box, and they do such a nice job of making it feel like a real event for being a virtual event. They put surprises in, and they have an unboxing party, and I've been really impressed with how they've managed, virtual events, which we've all experienced in the past 2 years.
Yes, for sure. So, shifting gears to storytelling, do you have a story that's still on your memory keeping bucket list?
I do. I have realized that since the pandemic started, I have been watching more TV. And that kind of started in the pandemic when we weren't going anywhere. And you and I have done kind of some watch alongs. And then this year, when we moved, our TV situation changed, and it was we went to all smart TVs. And so it was much easier to watch, like, before we used to have like one TV that was the Netflix TV. Well, now, or I could watch it on my computer, but like now all our TVs are smart. And so I can go to the basement and watch Netflix or whatever. And so it's kind of made it easier to stream stuff. So I
Mhm.
have been watching so much. Like we're super into Friday Night Lights right now. I watched Emily in Paris. I just finished Bridgerton. I've been watching a lot of things, and the story really is because obviously I'm a librarian, I'm a huge reader. Reading has always been my main hobby, and when my girls were born, I basically stopped watching TV because it was kind of like I either have time to read or I have time to watch TV, and I chose reading. And so for about a decade, I really haven't watched much. And I haven't really watched much TV shows that were like live or popular or on the air, I guess, except with the exception of This Is Us, which I got caught back up on in 2020, and then now it's in its final season, and I, like, literally have an alarm on my phone for Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, and I am, like, watching it live, which I haven't done in years.
I know, it's so bizarre to watch something live. I was like, I totally forgot that they're like commercials and it's just a
Yes.
different experience. I was trying to explain it to Emily, like, this is how TV used to be. We were just like sitting here waiting for the show to come back. And, you had to hurry to go to the bathroom to make sure you didn't miss anything, and it's not like we still can't pause it, but, it's just yeah, it's fun to have that excitement around watching live again.
It is, and so that's a story, kind of I envision kind of 2 separate layouts, one about kind of how I gave up TV and then how it kinda came back, and then kind of I still have an Ali Edwards watch kit, which those cute little TVs, and I've seen cute
Oh,
little,
nice.
layouts with that, and so I wanna definitely do something about everything I've watched in the past 2 years and what I've enjoyed.
I think I need to do this too because, I mean, like, we watched Parks and Rec and The Crown,
Mhm,
and I rewatched Downton Abbey while you watched it for the first time.
mhm, and Bridgerton
Bridgerton, Emily in Paris,
and
now
now
Friday
f
Night
yeah,
Lights. What else? Is there anything else?
um no, I think that's been most of it.
Wow, it's so crazy.
I mean, that feels like a lot.
I know, I know. I watch TV with you more than I watch TV with my husband now.
Yeah, it's fun though.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about, planning and accountability. It's kind of your regular theme. So I wanted to catch up on how things have been going for you this year now that you're more settled in your house and what systems and tools are you using, what's working well, what's not. So, what's been new with you since you were last on the episode and how did that impact your memory keeping?
I think a few things that are new is one, I've really started using the reminders app on my iPhone more. Um, and I used it to create a morning and an evening list. And then the other thing is now that we're getting settled in our new routines in the house, I found space in my schedule for some regular like Wednesday night. I call it it's usually Wednesday night. My husband's gone. My girls usually like to watch a show together. And I, sit down and either make a page with Chamel or I work on one little word or I work on something else. And so I've been making like specifically scheduling Wednesday nights as a craft night, and then, I'm also doing some stuff on Sundays as well. So I've put scrapbooking, like, literally on the calendar for the first time in a long time.
Did you feel like you had to take a break when you were moving and how were you able to get back into it?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm a planner, so it was very weird for me at the end of 2021 because we moved at the end of January, and so we were packing in December, and of course, we were gonna have to pack in January, and I was like, "I don't think I can, like, make any crafty plans for first quarter because I don't know how long it's gonna take me to get settled, and, we're gonna move at the end of January, and then we're gonna go right into Girl Scout cookie season, and I handle all that for my Girl Scout troop, let alone my own children." And so I was like, I'm not gonna craft for a while, and I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. And I was because I had that expectation, and I had a craft retreat on the calendar with some friends. Um, I had some plans in late March, and so I knew that was kinda like when I was gonna restart my crafting was with that time I had specifically set aside. So, I had something to look forward to, which I think helped, but then I was able to just kinda be like, "Okay, it's fine. I'm not gonna get like, this is not the priority for these couple months." And so, I definitely, I did make a few 6 by 8 pocket layouts in the beginning of March to kind of get myself back together. And that's when I actually, well, also the one little word supplies took forever to ship and arrive. And so in March, I started documenting my one little word stuff too. So it was kind of the beginning of March. And then that time that I set aside with some friends really then got me kind of back in my groove. And then that's when I was able to be like, oh, Wednesday nights, like this is a good time for me to do this. So, and then I was intentionally planning, like, okay, what am I going to do this week? And that's when I got through kind of that first best of both worlds kit with Chamel.
Well, I think I'm very admiring of you and your ability to really think about, okay, what's coming up? how can I shift my expectations to align with that and to make sure that my plate feels manageable and you tend not to overload yourself and I really admire that ability.
Well, thanks. I mean, I'm already under a lot of moving is stressful and
Oh
my
yeah.
job is, I'm the leader of an organization and that kind of comes with some own, responsibilities and, good stress and bad stress. And so, um, being realistic and just having to set it aside was important for my mental health. But I think having that date in March where I knew I was
Yes.
gonna have time set aside for it was key to being able to put it as to then to really feel good about putting it aside for a while.
I love that, and that I think that happens so often. We talk about that with organizing all the time. Like, if you have a time which you know you're gonna be able to dedicate to, you know, decluttering, managing your stash, even using your stash like we do with our Stash Bash Saturdays, then you know you don't have to do that right now because it makes you feel okay doing something that's a higher priority, whether that's a creative activity or some, home responsibility that's really needing to be, receiving your attention right now.
Yes, and it was, so I moved all of my stuff and unpacking my craft supplies and figuring out where to put it in the new house. And I when we were originally going to move into the house, I had one vision for this space that I was going to use as my home office slash scrapbook studio. And then the people who we bought the house from actually left a lot of furniture. And one of them was this big desk that's a really nice work surface and has a lot of flat space. And so I ended up reusing some of that furniture, which kind of had me pivoting a little in terms of how I had one way I thought I was going to organize, and then it was like, oh, I've got this furniture I could actually use instead. And the bookshelf, so there were two bookshelves, and the one bookshelf was actually deep enough for my scrapbook albums, which was like, that's not super common. So that was kind of exciting. But that kind of caused me to reevaluate like, okay, I thought I knew how I was going to put this stuff away, but now it's different. So where am I going to put this stuff? But then touching all your supplies again or seeing all your
Mm.
stuff was reinvigorating too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm kind of in a little mini reorganization now with my closet finally ready to, receive things again, and it excites me to, like, go through all my paints and figure out which ones are dry, and, the closet is really housing all of the not specifically scrapbook type creative supplies, some of which are Emily's and includes, other crafty hobbies, like, some of our tech stuff and my extra camera gear. So it's just fun to to reset and know that you're setting yourself up for even future success.
Yes, and I reorganized my stamps and I reorganized how I'm storing my Allie Edwards supplies and some of my other I redid my embellishment storage. So it's been fun to do that. I let go of a few things, so that was good too.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm my I guess my delay of entry into the year was even longer than yours. I really spent the first 4 months of the year focused on updating the Simple Scrapper brand, this whole brand relaunch, working with a designer, m basically redoing the website from scratch, and it was an exciting and important project, but I really had to put my scrapbooking on hold. So I have kind of a few template pages set up in Lightroom for my photo book this year, and I did make those Chamel layouts. I have kind of dabbled here and there in different projects. I've continued doing some art journaling on the side, mostly daily. But in terms of like my regular scrapbooking, I've had a hard time like staying caught up with it, and it's okay. And so I've kind of chosen an entry point of, you know, while I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, during the commercials, for example, the other night during This Is Us, I was in Lightroom flagging my photos of accept or reject. And so I'm trying to get back all the way through January, just when I'm, having my evening leisure time downstairs. And once I know all my photos have been sorted through, I will jump over to the computer so it feels less intimidating. Because that's what's kind of facing me right now is like, oh, I'm behind on the photos. I haven't taken that time weekly. And so if I can get caught up in a more casual situation, like in the car, we're going to be traveling this weekend, so I'm going to be doing some of it then. And I know it'll make it that much more fun to sit down and say, okay, I know the photos that I'm saving. Now I just need to throw them in the book and start writing some stories.
Well, and knowing what you need to do or what your barrier is, and then finding those pockets of time,
Mhm.
I think is really key to staying engaged in your hobby. I mean, Stacy Julian always talks about, 15 minutes. What can you do in 15 minutes? And you really can do a lot in
Oh,
15
yeah.
minutes, especially with photo management on our phones and using those pockets. So good job, you. I Going back to kind of what we were talking about earlier about the tween life, tween mom life. I think
Mm.
the other thing too is the daily stories aren't coming as fast and furious as I feel like they used to when the girls were younger. And so I think that also, the pace of my memory keeping has changed. I'm looking at I'm kind of looking at the overall um picture, the big picture, if you will, of like, okay, my girls, are 10 and 12. And so I've certainly scrapbooked lots of stories from their lives, but like where are the holes or where are the compilations that I need to
Mhm.
go back and create? And so that's a different perspective too, because I don't feel like I'm scrapbooking as much of like, oh, here's this cute thing you said, or here's how you love, your stuffed rabbit or whatever.
Yes, yes. Well, thinking about the pace though, I think I posted on Instagram last week that most of my camera roll are pictures of my cats. So that's that's the reality right now is that I spend more time with the cats than I do with my family members because especially Emily right now, she had like 4 activities this past weekend. She's got something almost every night, especially, during spring sports season. And so it's just kind of like me and the cats. They're the ones that are doing the cute stuff these days and um, yeah, I don't think my book for this year might not be as long as last year because things have really kind of significantly changed as we enter into this, next phase of life.
Yeah, it's definitely, a different season.
Mhm. So let's talk about planning a little bit. That's one of our favorite things. We kind of geek out about planners. I think between the two of us, we're very aware of all the planners that are out there and the pros and cons and exactly what sizes they come in. So what planners are you using right now?
Well, sitting next to me on my desk here is my unopened Get to Work book for the next academic year that will begin in July. So I am still using at home my Get to Work book. I use it on an academic cycle though, um, eh, because I like being able to match up my girls' school years. I find that helpful and useful. And then at work, I use a Blue Sky planner, but that lives on my desk at work. And then I'm using Trello more now for long-term project lists and like reoccurring task lists and kind of more of that reference material and not quite as an active list of to-dos.
So I feel like you're feeling settled now with your planner system. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good degree of some planner peace. Um, I I really went back and forth at the beginning of the year. I wanted to get a Cultivate What Matters goal book.
Power sheets?
Power sheets. Thank you. I'm like, what are those called again? uh, yes, I really kind of wanted some power sheets, but I just knew since I was essentially taking the first quarter off from any big goals that I didn't think it would be quite helpful. And so I could still get a 6 month undated here. And I'm kind of tossing that idea around because I feel like that's the one area I'm sort of lacking in is I didn't usually Gretchen Rubin on her podcast with her sister, they do like 20 for 20, 21 and 21, and where it's not like goals, but just things you wanna do in the year, and I didn't make a 22 for 22 list. I didn't set any big lofty goals for the year, um, because I was really just focused on getting us moved and settled in the new house, and that's still my focus, but I miss that accountability and that kind of master list of, "Oh, yeah, what did I wanna do?"
Yeah, I've been thinking recently and kind of doing some research on what are the different other than Power Sheets, what are the different goal planners out there? What time frame do they work on? And because I kind of feel like that's something that I've lost touch with as well. And I think part of it was just my own journey with work being busy, trying to navigate the new semi post pandemic world and balance my mental health and just that whole thing. And now I'm feeling like, okay, now I want to actually get some stuff done again. I want to, finish decorating my house and we want to remodel the basement and how are we actually going to start taking action on some of these things. So I'm definitely excited to kind of talk to you more about doing that in the second half of the year.
Yeah, and I listened to this, podcast by Sarah Hart Unger that is all about planners, and there is this quarterly goal planner that she was talking about. It's called Best Laid Plans is her podcast, and I just if you like planning podcasts, it's always like 25 minutes. It's a quick, interesting, and she reviews planners, which then of course makes me want them. But she was talking about like this quarterly, it's more of like a magazine goal thing, and I'm trying to I'll try to remember the name here of it. But I'm kind of intrigued by that because that I think a lot in quarters, both in work and at home now, because
Mhm.
that 90-day I think is a good period for getting things done.
I agree for sure. And we use the 2-month period at Simple Scrapper because 90 days can feel like a slog when you are trying to follow your inspiration. And so we found that like 2 months is a nice balance of being able to dig in deep while still kind of satisfying our squirrel brains to move on to something else. So I love that we can kind of have different planning horizons throughout our life depending on what we need. Cause with work, with home projects, things like that, with personal health, 90 days, I think is a really good time frame.
Okay, I think it's the JMB Living is what it's called.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah,
Okay, we will include that link and check
it's
it
a
out as well.
yeah, it's a quarterly journal and daily planner incorporating mindfulness and joy into your routine, but it's seasonal.
There's so many different things nowadays, particularly from smaller creators, and it's just fun to see, how can we think about things differently and which tools support us best. I think that's why we like these conversations is because you learn something about yourself even if it doesn't work out quite the way you wanted.
Yes, and that's what I've always liked about my Get to Work book is that there is she does like a monthly wrap up and there are spaces to support goal setting throughout this, but I've always found sometimes it's helpful to have a separate kind of tracker for
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, the bigger picture stuff.
For sure. So I'm using my Hobonichi cousin. So this is the A5 and I have it's the AVEC. So I have the two half year books. So I'm kind of excited to open up the second half of the year here at the end of June. It starts to get a little stale. And so having the half year books, you get that kind of new year energy. The same way you academic planner people do. And it's continuing to work really well, but I am making a bigger change. um, I've decided to let go of my Cocoa Daisy kits, and as much as I love them, and I love Christine and what her whole team does, and I love the themes, it's so beautiful, I found that I just wasn't using enough of it. So I pared back, and then
Wow.
they made some changes to the planner kits with, not including a pouch anymore, which Emily really liked every month. And so, I bought some stickers from an Etsy shop called Plan Fantastic, and these are specifically sized for the Hobonichi cousin size, and that's one of the things that was, more challenging with the Cocoa Daisy kits is that they didn't have a product that was specifically sized for this planner. So I was always, using more washi tape, just trying to make it work. But I have such kind of a backlog of, say, more sentiment stickers and decorative stickers that I can use in my journaling that I really just needed some consistent input of stickers for the weeks, that have a place to like say, have the days of the week and write the date and just to make each spread, feel fun and inviting. So I'm making that change. We'll see how it goes. I may be back because I do love Cocoa Daisy so much, but I wanted to try something new, particularly, at this transition point at the end of the first half of the year and see if I want to continue that for the second half. And then I think I've already mentioned this on the podcast. I did get a passion planner daily. And the objective is I'm not certainly not using it daily, but sometimes there's those days that just feel like, okay, I can't think about anything but today. And I need to map it out. I need to time block. I need to have space and true focus on just today. And so I'm grabbing it, you know, maybe once a week for those days, a couple times a month. I'm not using it actually probably as much as I thought I would, but I like that I have that option. And yeah, it's nice. I One of the things that's come out of this whole planner discussion with you is that I need a bound planner. I don't want rings or what are those things called? The happy planner discs. I don't want rings, I don't want discs. I need it to actually be bound and, lay mostly flat, and that's what really works for me.
That is so interesting because I am definitely a ring person.
Yes, and I can't stand it. I can't I hate it
That
so much.
is so interesting. Well, and I guess I should add that, I had been doing more time blocking at work,
Mhm.
um, and so I bought on Amazon, it was like 10 bucks, just an undated, daily planner that had space for a list as well as the hours so that I could, on the days I need to, time block because I was feeling kind of wasteful. Just I would print off like a planner sheet and time block on that, and then I would recycle it. And I don't know, that just felt like I needed actual book to keep all these
Yeah.
time block plans in. So I did purchase that. That is also spiral bound, um, and to use to time block at work. And so that's been helpful on the days because, like you, I don't have to do it every day, but the days I need to do it, I find it very, very helpful.
Yes, because my whole weekly spread has everything that I possibly need to do, want to do, and sometimes I know that I'm going to end up forwarding things, but I don't want to forget it, and so it becomes very cluttered and full, and that's fine because that's what it's there for, is to remind me of all the things that need to be done. But I can't think about all of them in one day, and I certainly can't do them all in one day. So I love having just the place to think about what's really in front of me during this work period.
Yes, and I just some more on time blocking. I had tried time blocking last year for work on using my Google Calendar because I thought, oh, well, that way if I don't finish something, I can, easily move it to the next empty spot and whatnot. But I just find it more value in mapping it out on paper. It's so, you know, I am totally all in on my digital calendar now. That's so different for me from how it was several years ago. But there are just some things that I don't think can replace paper. And I think it's that processing of your brain of like remembering and then planning and then being able to scratch it out and kind of remake the block plan if you need
Mhm.
to.
Yes, yes. So there's one app that I wanted to mention. So this is an Apple app for the computer. I do not know for sure if whether or not it's on the phone, but I will certainly link it up if it is. It's called Session. And so it's a Pomodoro timer to help you use your time blocks effectively rather than just saying you're going to time block and not actually focusing during that time. And so I find that a really helpful companion when I have chosen, okay, for the next 25, 52, whatever time period, 90 minutes that I want to focus, having this on my computer kind of staring at me, is a really helpful reminder.
That sounds really neat.
I've also used the flip clock. We do this during our quiet co-working sessions on Monday morning, but I've used it just sometimes myself if I wanna have, like, just big number timer, on the screen so that I can really feel. I don't know, it just gives you kind of like it's this huge reminder of saying, "You're focusing right now, you're focusing," whenever your brain tries to, like, go off track. "Oh, no, the timer's going. I have to, rein myself in."
I love a good timer. I just really, sometimes if I just need to get started, it's like, okay, 10 minutes. I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes. Or like, um, Laura Tremaine talks about, setting a timer to read in the morning, and
Mhm.
I know we're going to talk a little bit about morning and evening routines in a bit, but, I have found that just to be really helpful, even though I'm already a reader and I don't have trouble finding time to read, but even just putting some boundaries around it is helpful.
Well, yeah, I think it's time to segue into that. Our final topic of conversation is how are you doing with morning and evening routines right now? I think, yeah, we've had so many offline conversations about this. I guess we should catch people up. I think we both kind of felt a little off track because of this season of life that was extra busy.
Yes. So, I had moved and the spring weather here has just been not
Ooh,
great, like rain
yes.
and cold and black. And usually spring is when I sort of naturally start to wake up earlier anyway, and I get outside more. And it just wasn't happening in the new space and for a variety of reasons. And so I was like, I really need to start my morning routine again and get back on track. And then, I think this was also helped by the fact that you have come back to Apple and we both have iPhones now.
It
So now
helps,
we can
yes.
be even more the same. So, uh, I had been using the reminders app more just for daily life stuff, but then you were like, "Oh, with the app upgrade, you can have different reminder lists and you can, they can be reoccurring like weekdays." And like you actually taught me a few things because I hadn't updated my iOS yet. But anyway, so we both, I think, set up an ideal evening and morning routine on using our reminders app. So like my reminder starts at 6:30 in the morning, and then like at 7 I have a reminder to read nonfiction for 15 minutes. And it's really nice because you can kind of like, you know uh, change the order of stuff, but you can set it to go off at a specific time, and then it's right there on your phone. And that has been, and then I set up the same thing for the evening. And it's, having that outward accountability, even though it's not like a person, it's like your phone reminding you, but it's like past me wanted future me to do this. So,
Yes,
um,
yes.
it's been game changing, really.
I really look forward to my evening routine. Like last night, it was about 9 o'clock and we were running a little bit later because Emily had volleyball and Steve had softball. And um, Steve was like, "Hey, do you want to watch an episode of Ozark? Because that's one of the show we're watching together." And I'm like, No, I don't think so. I want to get started with my evening routine." So something definitely has clicked with that. And I would say that mine is not ideal yet. I tried to do, okay, what is the base? Like where do I want to start so that I can start adding more to it later? Um because I knew there was just certain things like for me it's scooping the cat litter in the morning and sweeping the kitchen at night were things that, I did some of the time but I wasn't doing consistently and that I knew that I would really appreciate if future me would appreciate if past me did that consistently. So, adding those into my reminders on top of more of the self-care things, I think has really been helpful.
Yes. And just like to not forget like what it is you wanted to do, oh, that's right, I do want to read nonfiction and I do want to do a little bit of yoga. And um I'd like it too because it's easy to skip. Like I had a couple early morning meetings this week, and so I couldn't do my full routine, but I could do parts of it, or I could do 5 minutes of nonfiction reading instead of 15 minutes. And so knowing kind of what the ideal is then helps me make adjustments when other things come up because you're not always going to have the same morning every
Oh,
day.
yes, for sure. I'm curious if you ever feel, like, guilty in skipping. Like, does
Mm,
it make you feel weird to, like, go ahead and press it where it says, "Instead of today, I'll say tomorrow"?
um yes, it does. And what it makes me think of like, okay, how much of a priority is this to me? Like, is this
Mhm.
like for this week, for example, I had 2 mornings where I had to be up earlier, an hour before I normally have to be somewhere. And so like I have a reminder to make overnight oats each night because I'm trying to eat that for breakfast. And I've been skipping that for a while. And part of it was, well, like, I'm going to have to just microwave a sandwich or I'm going to this meeting where they're going to serve me breakfast. So some of it's just practicality if it doesn't work. But yeah, I'm sort of like, okay, I've skipped making these overnight oats for like 2 weeks now. I need to get back on this train or I need to take it off the list because it's no longer a priority. And really, I
Oh,
know
I
that
love that. I
I need
think that's a really positive way to look at it, that if you keep skipping it, we need to figure out why. Is it because it needs to be at a different time? Is it because it's the wrong thing? What's how do we realign if you consistently don't skip it? If it's just like, "Oh, I'm just way too tired to load the dishwasher," sometimes you really are, and sometimes you're just being lazy. So, at least speaking for myself.
Oh, 100%, yeah, and, like, I know that part of this overnight oat thing is that I we went to Costco 2 weeks ago, and I found these new breakfast sandwiches that are super delicious and, like,
Yeah.
take a minute, and I'm super into them right now, and it's like, okay, and in fact, I ate them all in, like, a week because there's only, like, 8 in a box, but, made a special trip to go back to Costco to get them for this week, especially because I knew I was gonna have some of these early mornings where
Yeah.
I can eat that in the car on the drive to work, whereas it's harder to eat overnight oats in a bowl with a spoon. Um, so some of it just has to do with, like, what's happening, but it has made me think, "Okay, like, is this still a priority or am I really into these sandwiches? But what's better for me?" So,
Well,
um
I'm curious, would it be valuable to you to have your evening item be make a plan for breakfast?
ooh, I like that. That could be. Really, I need to add to the list, figure out what you're making for lunch, or having for lunch, because that's usually my daily struggle is
Yeah, maybe it's like, do you have a meal plan for tomorrow? Like,
yeah.
you don't need to think about necessarily the whole week because we know things often shift, and
Mhm.
that might be a weekly task to think about, okay, what are the possibilities, but even just okay, let's make some actual decisions for tomorrow.
I like that idea because that gives me more flexibility. But, like
Yeah, I've been
yeah.
trying to, like, communicate with Steve more about that. It's so amazing just how if you just say, like, "Hey, like, what do you think we should have for dinner tomorrow night?" And having that conversation results in plans versus, like, frustration and trying to decide in the moment when you're hungry and running behind and need to, like, feed people before they're all going different places. So, having that evening conversation, I think is
Oh,
helpful.
for sure. I mean, we only have a couple of nights right now where we're all home for dinner, and I really do, try to, uh, prime my husband, who's our main, meal provider, dinner cooker, like, in the mornings, I'll be like, "Okay, so what if we had this for dinner?" And I'll make a suggestion and he'll be like, "Oh, no, I was thinking this." And I'll be like, "Great." Because sometimes he'll text me at 2, like, "What do you wanna have for dinner?" Well, at 2 o'clock, I've been making decisions all day, and I really
Yeah.
don't care what I have for dinner, just feed me. Um,
Very true.
so I found that just a simple like, "Hey, I was thinking this," or, "Oh, just a reminder, we're all gonna be home." But we've definitely, with the girls doing some different activities, we have many more nights where we're not home or someone's getting home late or whatnot. So it's been a little trickier to figure out what we're eating when.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Emily made herself ravioli yesterday at, like, 3 o'clock, and then I made her pancakes at 8 when she got home. Actually, she didn't get home till, like, 8:30, I think, so I made her a couple pancakes. So,
Oh.
it was just, she's gone for a big chunk of the evening, and so she kinda has 2 dinners.
Yeah, I find they're so hungry when they get home from school.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think the one of the takeaways that I have from this is just to think about the times in which you are most likely to make good decisions for future you, and to make sure you're assigning those to the right times, because we all have times where we're not making the best decisions that future you will most appreciate. Um, like, even, like, going to the store when you know you're not gonna be hungry, or versus going to the store when you're starving, things like that, I think. Just thinking about routines and planning can help you, align things just so that life goes a little bit smoother.
Well, and I think especially for me, the evening routine is so key because it's like if I can have that reminder at 7:45 that I need to brush my teeth,
Mhm.
as dumb as that sounds, like then I'm not waiting till 9 when I'm like or 9 or 10, and I'm tired and I don't want to take, 2 minutes to brush my teeth. But if I do it at, 8 o'clock, but before I sit down to watch a show or read a book or do whatever, like, okay, it's done and I can do it, I can begin my evening routine earlier has been really helpful to me too. Like it doesn't have to be tied to necessarily bedtime. Like it also helps me from snacking later on at night too.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Um so yeah, I like that idea too of doing it when I'm more like functional and remember reminding me like I'm doing this particular protocol where I have to do this face cream at morning and at night. And so and I the night one is easier for me to skip and because I don't want to wash my face at night and I don't want to put the cream on and da 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 da. But it's like I know it's better for me if I do that. And so just remembering like, oh yeah, you should, wash your face now. It's 8 o'clock before I get really tired is very helpful.
This is fascinating because I think this is like a spiral versus bound planner, because that's my favorite part on my evening routine is getting to wash my face.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I've never been like a beauty person. You're much more of a beauty person than I am. You place your orders from Ulta and I might go there once a year. So, um,
Yeah.
everyone has different interests, which is fine.
No, that's for sure.
But yeah, that's never been my routine. And so when I had to start making it my routine here a couple months ago, it was like, how am I going to remember to do this when I'm tired at the end of the night?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I find that in general, it's just helping me kind of relax more. I think that's why I look forward to it. I'm sleeping better. I'm going to bed often earlier, like really listening to my body and like, oh yeah, I'm tired. I should go to sleep. And then also kind of putting my phone away. And then I try to spend the last 20 minutes reading before I go to bed. And so it's been really just a nice transition. And I think that's just why I look forward to so much. It's been pleasant, I guess.
It is pleasant, and my brain feels so full of other information. It's like, "Oh, yeah, it's time for you to take care of yourself now," like,
Yeah.
"Go do these things," and I think one night I texted you and was like, "I'm going to brush my teeth now because a stupid reminder went off, and I don't wanna brush my teeth, but I'm doing it anyway so I can check the box," and
Yes.
um, you know, and I think it less about brushing, but my dentist is like, "Oh, you need to floss more." And I'm a terrible flosser. And so having that on the list helps me um remember that I'm supposed to be flossing and I keep the floss on the counter and it makes it just whatever you can do to make these things easier for you.
Yes, yes. So I will include a link in the show notes to, I'm sure there's some sort of tutorial out there, even from Apple, on how to use the reminders app for recurring uh activities like that, because it's been something that's really helpful. And we had to like fish around to figure out how to do it. So I will try to include some instruction in the show notes. Alyssa, this has been so nice. As always, I love to chat with you. Can you remind our listeners where we can find you online?
Sure, I'm Alyssa Recommends at on Instagram. I post mostly about my girls, but I try to post book recommendations and a little bit of scrapbooking too.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And to all of our listeners, please remember that you have permission to scrapbook your way. Do you wish photo management could be easier? Join us for our free Your Way workshop on June 20th, 2022 to discuss how to bring automation into your photo workflow. Visit simplescrapper.com/workshops to learn more and register.